Well, here we go once again, ladies and gentlemen, friends. I'm Stan Hughes at Interesting Ideas, and the CQ says once again, hey, it must be Tuesday, and Stan has perhaps a little brief conversation that might be helpful or useful, or maybe just amusing, and that might be the case today as I talk about the man of few words who made millions. It's kind of a cute little story, and in the midst of this world where it is a continuing, unfortunately, very sad mess, sometimes we just need a little lighter touch that might be helpful and useful to us, and I think maybe we can do that today. So, yes, the man of few words who made millions, and then perhaps a lesson from that story. That's the agenda for today, and the program begins right now.
What's up, Doc?
Okay, here we go. Again, full attribution. And here's all I have. It is from something called Noom, N-O-O-M. And that was all I could find at the moment, but the story was passed on to me. And so I want to make sure that I give them full credit, because I'm just going to retell their story from N-O-O-M, and it was interesting facts. And here was the question. Which children's book was written on a bet? Well, do you have any idea? Maybe some of you know the story. Well, you may not know the story, but most of you know the stories, and let me tell you why. Here's how it went, and so with energy I will try and speak it, maybe give it a little performance touch. Green Eggs and Ham was written on a bet. You'd think that a wildly imaginative children's author and illustrator, famed for the use of nonsensical words like zizzer, zazzer, zuzz. Yes, zizzer, zazzer, zuzz would have trouble fitting a story into the strict confines of a pre-approved vocabulary list. Yet, it was precisely that limitation that inspired Theodore Geisel, a.k.a., yes, Dr. Seuss, to deliver two of his best-known works. In the mid-1950s, a publishing executive named William Spalding, who was dismayed by the uninspiring material being foisted on young readers, challenged Seuss to write a story that first graders can't put down, using a list of around 300 words. That's meant to help children learn how to read. Yeah, 300 words. The assignment flummoxed Seuss for a spell until he zeroed in on two words that rhymed. 9 months later, he finished the groundbreaking The Cat in the Hat, his tale of a havoc-wreaking feline, and, if you read it, composed of only 236 distinct words. Now, it goes on. Another publisher, his name is Bennett Cerf. Now, I remember watching Bennett Cerf in the 1950s, early 60s, on a program called What's My Line, and it came out of New York, and most of the people on the program, what they would do is they would be there. They were all kind of celebrity publishers and authors and people like that. And somebody would come on and they'd have so many questions and they would try and guess what the person's career was. It was kind of a fun game. I think it was Sunday night, some things like that. And Ben Cerf was one of the top Random House publishers, I think, in New York City around that time. And he upped the ante by asking Seuss to write a book using only 50 different words, and he bet the author $50 that it couldn't be done. Now, supposedly, $50 is a little bit more in those times than what we think today, but $50. Well, the story goes that Seuss again wrung his hands over the project, plastering his wall with flowchart maps to work his way through the narrative. I can just see this. But once again, he pulled it off, leaving Cerf shaking his head in amazement upon hearing the story of the persistent Sam I Am and many ways to eat a particular dish. Yeah, green eggs and ham. That's right. And while the publisher allegedly squelched and never paid the debt, or paid off the bet, things worked out just fine from a monetary standpoint for Seuss, as Green Eggs and Ham, in 1960, became the top-selling title of his long, distinguished career. Yes, I love stories like this. They're full of wit and charm, and they're a bit serendipity. And if you'll allow me to do so, it actually has maybe some meaning for us. All right? Maybe there's a lesson we can learn about green eggs and ham. Well, that's going to be after the break. I'm Stan Houston. The program is Interesting Ideas. We're here to help you live a better life, starting now. A man of few words. I'm now kind of on a search, particularly in some things, about great one-liners. Some of the best one-liners. Some of them can be, the proverbial put down. Some of them can be, and this is where most of it goes, it is so well said and maybe even well rhymed, and it sounds so good that a good statement, even a great statement, even a theological truth could be a real mark of a great communicator. Now, that's what I'm doing. And I'd like to teach people how to do that because a little bit of my history. Long-time broadcaster, and what I discovered is when I went to Brown Institute in Minneapolis, one of the top schools, and I'm very proud of that. I worked very, very hard because it's hard to graduate from Brown Institute, and if you were one of the best trained, and today most radio broadcasters haven't been trained at all. But one of the things they made me do, besides practice, and learn how to speak, and they threatened to throw me out unless I corrected my lisping, hissing S, which I did after mountains of work, it seemed, trying to get my mouth to work right. But just like in the 6th grade, they would give us a group of words that, for the most part, were unfamiliar. And of course, what did we have to do? Well, they said every good communicator, your dictionary and your thesaurus should be on your desk. And so we would have to look up the word, learn how to spell it. That's right. Learn how to spell it, how to pronounce it, and then give a definition of it. We had to do that every week, just like 6th graders. And what they said with a smile was, we would like you to become the kind of broadcaster who has a vocabulary of 40,000 words. And then we want you to be so good that for the most part you only ever use 4,000. And that being able to speak well in a minimal amount of words bore at the same time to speak clearly and define and explain a complicated or an unusual word was the art. One of the things I did for the men and women who were young pastors and ministers, they wanted to be on the radio. And, as I tried to tell them, a lot of this, what we called God talk, the theological words that are used in church and religious services, and obviously in many of the sermons you get, and say, many people have no idea what they mean. It's kind of a professional slang. And so what I did is I had a list of 25 of the more common theological words that I said you can't use them in your radio program. Now, you can talk about them, but you can't use that word. You actually have to speak in a way that the same idea, the same concept, comes across in words that people know and can understand. Later on, I had a major project of taking a very popular book, particularly at least in the religious world, and then creating it, written by a wonderful American woman. Her name was Evelyn Christensen. She was from Minneapolis, my hometown, and the project was in India, and we were trying to take her book and put it into a radio program that would be broadcast in India in English, but it would be simple enough that one of the people from India could take that simple English and then put it in their own language and then have it put out that way. You learned how to be a person not only of words, but trying to figure out how you can be a man of few words. Well, I just thought I would share that story with you because think about that. Think about when you're talking, when you're speaking, when you're presenting. How can you say it simply, with energy, with rhyme, with a little bit of a performance lilt? How can you make a sentence, maybe a sentence or two, actually communicate really the essence and the energy and perhaps a touch of whimsy in what you're all about? One of the projects I'm involved in now is a namesake. Maybe I was named after him. He was a world famous theologian and writer and speaker, and India all around the world. His name was E. Stanley Jones, and he had a wonderful ability in the many books he wrote and the many speeches and sermons and seminars and workshops that he gave, had a wonderful ability to just strike that aha. One sentence, one line, and you got it. That's it. Well, I've been going for 13 minutes, and it's time for me to quit. Few words. Hey, I'm Stan Houston. The program is Interesting Ideas. Right now, I'm also putting together my world-class. How to be a world-class performance coach. I did that for some 25 or 30 years. And if you would like to be one, and the way you become one is you get your first client, and the first client is you, and you coach yourself so that you can be a coach, and then you can be a coach leader to others. The program works, and it works well, and we'd be happy to demonstrate it to you. Man of few words. Hey, reach out to me at stanhouston@gmail.com, stanhouston@gmail.com, and simply tell us how we can help you bring your message to life, bring your ideas into reality and bring them to life. Those are things we do, and I think we do them well. And in today's world, being a man or a woman of a few words, but a lot of wisdom, is what we need, and we need people like you to do just that. Once again, stanhouston@gmail.com. Best and blessings to you. It's going to be a hot day in America, so take it easy. And bye for now.